Fala pessoal, de boa, continuando a nossa gameplay do Starfield de onde paramos. Bom, vamos aqui, né, continuar com a história ali da UC, Legado Forjado, e bora lá.
Well, what a pleasant surprise. When I heard you and Hadrian were headed for Londinian of all places, I presumed you must be onto something big. Did you find what you were looking for? I haven't been to Londinian in many years. Why? Is there some way I could be of assistance? Were you able to recover what you were looking for? Good news, then. So, what exactly are you doing here? Plenty still to be done in defeating the Terrormorphs, no? Now, what in the heavens would make you claim something as ludicrous as that? Did you? Well, I don't know what you think you heard on this recording, but I sincerely hope you didn't come to the wrong conclusions. After all, given the Cabinet's current state of anxiety, they might misinterpret such a discovery to mean I could have been involved with the attacks. Perhaps I can convince you to keep this among us. Of course. Do I look like I'm in any position to do what you're describing? So I'd very much appreciate your agreement to not share what you found. We wouldn't want anyone else jumping to conclusions now, would we? You want to hear the words, then? I did it. The Terrormorph attacks on Tau City, New Atlantis, my doing. Years of coordination between my associate and I, figuring out how to deploy the Lazarus plant's pollen outside of Londinian, learning to synthesize it, use it as a weapon. Now, being as clever as you are, I'm sure you have thoughts on why I might do such a thing. All in due time. First, I want to see if you're truly as astute as you appear. So why would someone like me go through all this trouble? Oh, my revenge was far from petty, Captain. The attacks were a correction. When I discovered the plant, I did consider handing over what I'd found. But we were at war, and I couldn't risk information that dangerous falling into the wrong hands. So I ordered the bombing of the Londinian spaceport, fixing two problems at once. Halting the spread of the city's Terrormorph outbreak, and sealing away knowledge of the plant's potential. Simple to say now, but with the outbreak raging from a barely understood source, the moment demanded quick action. So I did what was required. I remove the dangerous variable from an already catastrophic war. But then, as the war ended, my trial, my execution, I made a decision. After all, I'd given everything for the colonies. My life as I knew it included. And what did I get in return? Was there any effort by the UC to protect my legacy? My daughter's legacy? No. We were sacrificed when all we did was serve. So I kept what I'd learned and arranged the attacks to set things right again. My daughter, she becomes a hero. I become a trusted advisor, having found Kaiser, the research team, and cement my new position of influence when I hand them the name of the person responsible for the attack on New Atlantis. The dear departed Dr. Reginald Orlays, the associate who aided me all these years, and whom I always slated to take the fall. What luck he was stopped dead before he could hurt anyone else. His decades on the run brought to an end by another unlikely hero. You. Why would I want to be in the good graces of the people who control my very life? I don't know, Captain. Maybe I still dream of a life outside these walls someday. A new face would be needed, of course, but it wasn't an impossibility. Though now, I'm not so sure. It wasn't easy. But the beauty of being loathed is that people will do whatever they can not to deal with you. They wanted to pretend I didn't exist. And so I used their blind eye to my advantage. Still, establishing a back channel to Orlays via the UC recovery teams was painstaking work. I've led campaigns less nerve-wracking. They believed they were luring in wanted criminals, but were in fact delivering precisely encoded slates, filled with instructions invisible to any but their recipient. Dropped off at just the right moments to fall into the proper hands. All without the UC realizing whom they were actually dealing with. Slow work. But as you can see, ultimately effective. Can't remember the many lives you've taken. Orlays was the man whose death you brought about around the moon of Etheria, the pilot of the Warlock. The man I had to eliminate, to hide my secret. Captain, please. You've benefited here as much as I have. Maybe more. It's why I had Orlays reprogram Kaiser. Had that old machine guide you to where I found the plant all those years ago. I went to great lengths to ensure your and Hadrian's success. And look at the results. I know for a fact the Cabinet's planning to honor both you and Hadrian once this is all done. Isn't that preferable to languishing away in obscurity? Running jobs on the tail end of nowhere for the Vanguard? With only the vague hopes of perhaps earning the right to buy a home in the well someday. Something befitting the dedication to the colonies you two have shown. While, of course, they can't give you a command, responsibility like that has to be earned. The Cabinet does have access to considerable resources. I expect you'll be quite pleased with the result, and none of it would have happened without my intervention. Your You're being honored only because I arranged the situations where it could happen. Be grateful. And let's not forget the importance of our actual endgame. Eliminating the Terrormorphs. Securing knowledge of the Lazarus plant. What we've set in motion is going to protect thousands, maybe millions of lives. I'm simply requesting one more life be protected. Mine. I've already sent along the evidence of Orlez's role in the attacks to the cabinet, leaving out my own involvement. All I ask is that you confirm as much to the cabinet. Tell them that it was Orlez and Orlez alone. After all, I do still have a long list of threats to the UC. This needn't be the end of our good works together. Hunting down criminals and other threats to the United Colonies. I expect they'll give me a bit more free range once this is all over. You would help me, like you did with Orlez. Track them down, and keep them from doing harm to the United Colonies. Impossible, though, if the cabinet learns I'm the one responsible for the attacks. And how many have you killed to get where you are now? There are no great works that don't cost lives, Captain. Whether it's winning a war, or digging a tram tunnel. So we sacrificed a few dozen in the attacks to possibly protect millions. That seems like a fair exchange to me. I only hope you'll see the same, and leave my name out of the discussions to come. Well, I do hope you'll keep the larger perspective in mind, Captain. We've done something great here. Let's not squander the opportunity to do more.
Então a gente acabou ali descobrindo bastante coisa, que foi ele que fez o ataque, porém, já deu pra perceber também que se a gente escolher eliminar ele, vamos perder uma linha de missões, tá? Já deu pra reparar isso. A escolha é de vocês, então assim, o que vai decidir se ele vai viver ou não é a continuação aqui da missão. Eu vou mostrar o lado que a gente mata ele e o lado que a gente deixa ele vivo, porque querendo ou não, para continuar com as missões dele aqui no canal, eu preciso manter ele vivo, tá? Então nem sempre a escolha ali vai ser boa, né? Mas bora lá.
Perfect timing. We just got in. So on our end, good news. The microbe and the acyles are both as effective against heat leeches as they are against terrormorphs.
Means either plan should work for clearing those critters off our worlds.
Considering what the Lazarus plant is capable of, I don't think we can deal with those things fast enough. I already sent along info to the cabinet to get them up to speed. So what about your end? Did you find anything? Any leads on who might have committed the attacks?
That seems unlikely, considering he's been dust for about 20 years.
I'm sure the captain just misspoke. Right? If you said my father was still alive and using terrormorphs as weapons, I might think it's time for a psych eval. So we just misheard you, right? No, that's impossible. He's gone. My father is dead.
That's quite the revelation.
Certainly putting it mildly.
Alive. They Victus is alive? How did you find him? Wait. You knew he was alive and didn't tell us? You were sworn to... You swore. You were just doing your duty, weren't you? Yeah, I guess I, of all people, should know what a burden that can be. Doesn't mean I'm not mad, but I guess you letting us know late is preferable to never. Now at least we can inform the cabinet and let them deal with him. I honestly don't know. If it were me, I'd make damn sure he never spoke to another human being again. But I may be a bit less than impartial. But for the wanton murder of civilians, I doubt anything's off the table. I'm sure he did. But he killed dozens of people. And I'm not about to let him get away with something like that. But now I guess we've got our answer. Nothing left to do but put it all in front of the cabinet. Any last things we needed to discuss? This might be our last opportunity to talk things through before the cabinet weighs in on a decision regarding the Terrormorphs. It's hard to know. Unlike my father, the cabinet aren't butchers. But killing UC citizens, along with everything else he's done, is unforgivable. But if you're really that concerned, you could request they be lenient. They might be willing to spare him. Asylees aren't hostile to humans, but they are megafauna. If someone decides to pick a fight with one, it could get ugly. But they've already been spread far and wide once before when the UC was raising them as livestock, so the risk of introducing them to new worlds is minimal. Using them to clean up the Terrormorphs and leeches, though, it's not going to be nearly as expedient as the microbe would be. Given what we know now about the Lazarus plant, the speed of the job does matter. But going with the Asylees, we're at least dealing with known risks. They are.
Microbe needed minimal adjustment to account for heat leech anatomy.
And the Asylees seem like they're even better at tracking leeches than morphs.
Hell of a sight to watch, though, when they catch them. Like an open airlock guzzling angry spaghetti. Microbe is gonna make the cleanup a whole lot quicker. If we're concerned about this Lazarus plant getting deployed again, that's the way to go.
The cabinet can secure the Lazarus plant, and then we're not risking any surprises when it comes to dealing with a microbe.
You're being paranoid. You know the science. You know we can make this safe.
I do know the science. I also know math. And a 1 in a million chance of a mutation isn't 0. So I guess we're still in discussion. Probably best at this point to let the cabinet weigh in, see if they have a preference. And here we go.
Welcome back, all of you. I wish we were meeting under better circumstances. But according to Hadrian's report, and the second one I just received, it seems the Terrormorph attack on New Atlantis was no random occurrence, but a planned strike. Is what I'm reading here true? This report comes from a particularly confidential source both you and I are familiar with, yes. Among the reasons its findings are so alarming. Now, is it true? Was the attack on New Atlantis planned?
My God.
An attack? Using Terrormorphs? How is that possible?
You will all receive a full briefing once we're done here. So then, is what the second report claims correct? Did Reginald Orlays commit these attacks, Captain?
Orlays? It's true, ma'am. I heard the recording myself. My father figured out how to use Terrormorphs as weapons.
He did what?
That's impossible. He doesn't have the kind of access to...
Clearly, he made his own access, Chief Sarkin. Madam President, I have been saying for years that not dealing with that man was gonna end in tragedy.
Enough! I hope everyone here understands that what has just been shared is a state secret of the highest order. This information does not leave this room. Now, that's quite the accusation you're leveling, considering Francois Sanon has not left containment for the better part of 2 decades. You have evidence to back this up? I can think of numerous reasons why someone, after learning Victus is still alive, might want to correct that. So I'm not going to accept such a stunning claim without proof.
It just transformed. A terrormorph out of thin air. An invisible weapon. No planet would be safe.
Heavens help us. Is that actually him?
I'd know that voice anywhere. That's Francois.
He knew they could do this, and said nothing.
He's a sociopath. Plain and simple, ma'am.
Officer, please collect that recording.
Yes, ma'am. Begging your pardon, Captain.
We'll, of course, be launching a full investigation into how this could have happened. Though I have little doubt the Admiral will be quick to share all he knows on the subject once confronted with that recording. Chief Yassine, can you send one of your interrogators to have a little chat with the Admiral?
I'll issue the order immediately.
Good. Combined with everything else you all have uncovered. Well, I don't think the United Colonies can thank you enough. We failed the people of the colonies by not dealing with Victus sooner. I intend to rectify that mistake immediately. That's truly disconcerting to hear. But cutting off Victus's contact with the outside world is likely to be just the beginning of his punishment. That will be up to the cabinet to decide. But I don't appreciate our mercy being taken advantage of. I'm inclined to agree, Captain. Now, with our villain unmasked, we can attend to the other matters at hand. With the threads you've brought together here, the Lazarus plant, the attacks, the heat leeches, the 3 of you have likely spared thousands of lives. But it now falls to the cabinet to ensure this can never happen again. As such, the cabinet will be securing the Lazarus plant on Londinian. All materials related to the plant will be classified to ensure no one else learns its true nature.
A sound decision, Madam President.
Well, luckily the natural hostility of Londinian makes keeping out trespassers relatively easy. But we'll ensure its growth is contained, that access to the plant is only permitted via highly regulated clearances, and that our troop presence on Londinian is increased. I'm glad you think so. So then, to our final topic. The cabinet has agreed to implement a plan that will deal with the Terrormorph, and now also Heat Leech presence on human worlds. In fact, we've already begun enacting measures to check all UC ports and settlements for undiscovered nests. But we all understand this is only a partial solution. The project we're embarking on will be a long and difficult one. So our first step must be deciding how exactly this all will be handled.
Madam President, this microbe is clearly too much of a risk. The Aseles are the safer approach.
To someone with limited knowledge of biology, perhaps. The technology behind the microbe is solved science, Madam President. It isn't dangerous. Using it to wipe out the Terrormorphs would be the quickest path to protecting humanity.
And fast results always lead to the best outcomes, don't they?
As you can see, there remains debate among the cabinet. We were hoping your group might issue a recommendation. Major?
We've been having similar debates ourselves, but the captain has yet to weigh in.
I see. Captain, I know this may not be your area of expertise, but we'd like to know your take on the matter. I believe we have a responsibility to do something, yes. Heavens forbid, years from now, someone reopens the Pandora's box that Vivictus discovered. It falls to us to enact every measure required to ensure that day never comes.
Glad to see someone's not afraid of a little applied genetics. The science division is in full agreement.
I doubt there's another body in the galaxy that could pull it off.
Absolutely correct. There are no better hands in the galaxy for this project than ours.
Order, please. And Major Sinan? Dr. Walker, you'd find this acceptable?
We trust the captain's judgment.
Then the matter is settled. We'll begin the process immediately. Today marks day one for the United Colonies Terrormorph Management Division, making you three the founding members of the TMD. As befits such a group, the Cabinet wanted to display its gratitude. Today, we will be adding 3 new Class 1 citizens to our ranks.
Class 1? For the 3 of us? Are you joking?
What he means to say is, thank you, ma'am.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
It's a status reserved only for those who've dedicated their lives to the United Colonies, or done great things for its cause. Class 1s enjoy an ample credit disbursement, an additional reduction on the cost of colonial goods. And I'm told the penthouse is rather impressive. You all have earned it. Now, there's much to be done. Major Sinan, Dr. Walker, I hope you two are willing to continue your efforts spearheading the TMD's research on Mars.
We'd be honored, ma'am.
As for you, Captain, the Vanguard will be providing much of the on-the-ground support for the TMD. As a member of both the Vanguard and the TMD, I believe you'll have your pick of duties. Speak to your commander, Tuala, if I recall correctly. He should be able to provide you with assignments going forward, plus help you collect the benefits that come with being named Class 1. On behalf of the whole of the United Colonies, you have our sincerest gratitude. This meeting is adjourned.
Beleza, ao completar a missão ali, seja a escolha que você fizer, vai receber a recompensa, XP ali, tranquilo nessa parte. Se você escolheu essa opção 1, quando forem lá na área onde esse cara estava preso, praticamente você vai conseguir acessar ali, ó, a casa que ele estava, certo? Porque agora aparentemente ele foi, né, de vala mesmo. E aí não tem muito o que fazer. Explorando a área aqui, você não vai encontrar muita coisa lá, nossa, né, velho, importantíssimo. Mas teremos aqui 2 notas e eu vou deixar aí no vídeo para vocês, para quem quiser dar uma lida e saber mais ali algumas informações, tá? Fora isso, a gente não vai ter mais nada, porém, fazendo esse tipo de opção aqui, é basicamente a escolha certa pelo que o cara fez, óbvio, tá bom? Porque querendo ou não, ele pagou agora pelos crimes dele ali, certo? Porém, a gente também acaba perdendo uma linha de missão que é específica dele, tá? Porque se a gente deixar ele vivo, bom, a gente vai começar ali a trampar com ele e fazer alguns serviços ali para ele também, certo? Aqui a gente tem outra nota que é um futuro da UC, né, certo? Algumas coisas ali meio que dando uma indireta para o nosso próprio personagem, né? Meio que já te dizendo que, mano, no futuro aí, se estourar uma outra guerra, querendo ou não, essa decisão aí que ele teve que tomar, vai sobrar pra nós resolver o bagulho, né? E possivelmente aconteça a mesma coisa que aconteceu com ele, com nós, no futuro, tá? Então, tipo, mano, é só um resumão por cima ali, mas, né, tá aí pra vocês, quem quiser dar uma lida com calma, só pausar o vídeo e dar uma lida, beleza? Agora eu vou mostrar a opção 2, que pra mim vai ser a que eu vou deixar aqui fixa, pelo menos na minha gameplay, porque querendo ou não, eu ainda preciso gravar ali as missões com ele pro canal, né? Porque querendo ou não, a gente vai fazer todo o conteúdo do game aqui também.
Orlays? Reginald Orlays? He did this? I didn't think he was still alive. You're sure it was him? Oh yeah. Both worked for UC Defense Research way back when. Different departments, but everyone knew Orlays. Had a mean eye for weapons tech. And a meaner temper. Wasn't exactly a surprise when he fled instead of standing trial after the Colony War. But finding out he's taken up mass murder in the years since, that is a shock. You're sure about this? Didn't say that. Just surprised to find out my former colleague is now dropping alien predators into unsuspecting cities. Just want to make sure we've got the right man. You're certain?
I don't know much about Orlays, but anyone with a sick mind like that needs to be tried for his crimes, and then dealt with appropriately.
That's some impressive work. So then give us the rundown. Where's Orlays now? Were you able to bring him in? Oh, Captain, I'm sorry. I won't pry any further. Well, at least he won't be able to hurt anybody else now. Might be the best we could ask for, given the circumstances. So I guess there's nothing else to do but get this all in front of the cabinet. Unless there were other things we needed to discuss. This might be our last opportunity to talk things through before the cabinet weighs in on a decision regarding the Terrormorphs.
Eu vou ir dando uma resumida, só seguindo ali pelos caminhos que vão ir diferenciando na conversa, porque muitos diálogos ali vão se repetir, tá? Eles não mudam, certo? Só essa parte de escolha ali, interação que muda, mas ao mesmo tempo, no meio da missão, tem diálogo ali que é a mesma bosta, tá? Essas partes eu vou dando uma resumida pro vídeo também não ficar, né? Duas partes igual gigantesca ali. Aqui é a parte que a gente vai mentir e acusar o cara lá.
That appears to be the case, ma'am. The captain tracked that information down just after our trip to Londinian.
Reginald Orlays? Wasn't there a report he'd been killed recently?
Body was found floating around Etheria. Report mentioned you were sent to try and bring him in, Captain. I guess that didn't go according to plan.
Ah, yes. I was told about your mission and who ordered it. Did you two suspect at the time Orlays might have been involved in the attacks? Only that it would have been preferable if you'd managed to find him before he murdered UC citizens. Now, are you going to answer the question for me or not? Did you already suspect Orlays? Well, it appears you are ahead of the curve. This report contains definitive evidence Orlays triggered the attacks via this Lazarus plant the captain and Major Sanan uncovered.
Simply harrowing.
Indeed. Though it would have been preferable for him to have finally faced the UC's justice, it seems both of you are to be commended for ensuring he was dealt with before he could strike again. You have our thanks. Now, With our villain unmasked, we can attend to the other matters at hand. With the threads you've brought together here, the Lazarus plant, the attacks, the heat leeches, the three of you have likely spared thousands of lives. But it now falls to the cabinet to ensure this can never happen again. As such, the cabinet will be securing the Lazarus plant on Londinian. All materials related to the plant will be classified to ensure no one else learns its true nature.
A sound decision, Madam President.
We're already discussing the elimination of one species, Captain. Explain to me why you wish to eliminate another.
Nessa parte a gente pode até manter as plantas vivas, protegendo elas ou sugerindo destruir ali com tudo logo para não ter nenhum risco de ninguém, mano, de alguma forma meter a mão nisso e fazer merda de novo, né?
I'm not sure I like what you're suggesting. The UC's only plan is to protect lives. Though, I won't discount that perhaps your proposal could get us closer to that goal. So, explain to me your thinking in destroying the plant.
That's only a partial solution. The UC should involve the Freestar Collective in the operation in an attempt to remain as transparent as possible.
And with Orles having been dealt with, this problem can end here.
And allow us to focus on the grander task to come. Very well. We'll clean up the plant. Thank you for the suggestion, Captain. So then, to our final topic. The Cabinet has agreed to implement a plan that will deal with the Terrormorph, and now also Heat Leech presence on human worlds. In fact, we've already begun enacting measures to check all UC ports and settlements for undiscovered nests. But we all understand this is only a partial solution. The project we're embarking on will be a long and difficult one. So our first step must be deciding how exactly this all will be handled.
Madam President, this microbe is clearly too much of a risk. The Aseles are the safer approach.
To someone with limited knowledge of biology, perhaps? The technology behind the microbe is solved science, Madam President. It isn't dangerous. Using it to wipe out the Terrormorphs would be the quickest path to protecting humanity.
And fast results always lead to the best outcomes, don't they?
As you can see, there remains debate among the Cabinet. We were hoping your group might issue a recommendation. Major?
We've had a few discussions, but our group is similarly split. Only the captain has yet to weigh in.
I see. Captain, I know this may not be your area of expertise, but we'd like to know your take on the matter.
Aí aqui a gente tem os dois métodos ali, o mais rápido e o que é um trabalho a longo prazo, tá? Envolvendo ali umas formas de vida. Bom, eu já vou dar um corte porque eu já mostrei ali na opção 1 todos os diálogos aqui, então a gente vai agora pelo mais seguro, vamos dizer assim.
I'm in full agreement. No need be delving into unpredictable sciences.
Here's hoping they'll be kept on a short leash.
That, madam, is most certainly the plan.
Order, please. And Major Sinan? Dr. Walker, you'd find this acceptable?
We trust the captain's judgment.
Then the matter is settled. We'll begin the process immediately.
Aí nessa parte aqui eu já dei um corte pro final, porque os diálogos não mudou da opção 1, a mesma coisa, a gente recebe os benefícios ali, vai ter desconto, um monte de coisa, blá 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 blá, e coisa que não interessa muito ali. Então a gente, né, encerra ali, ó, a missão e mantendo o cara vivo a gente vai ter as opções lá de completar umas missões pra ele também ali, certo? Então a gente tem missão ali no comandante, missão no sargento, missão também no próprio cara ali pra unir forças com ele, tá? Então, mano, a gente tem bastante coisa ainda pra fazer aqui em Nova Atlântida, tá? E bora continuar, né? Que dessa forma a gente vai descobrindo todo o conteúdo do game como padrão aqui no canal. Beleza, pessoal, permanecendo aqui ainda em Nova Atlântida, tá? Na área ali do poço, a gente vai ter um evento aleatório que às vezes acontece, demora um pouco, na segunda vinda ali à loja de armas, ele acontece.
I'm telling you, Bianchi, something's wrong with the boots you sold me. I wear them to the metro. Suddenly, the shuttle runs late. I buy a cup of coffee, and the barista screws up my order. It's like I'm walking under ladders with a broken mirror in my pocket. And the only time it happens is when I'm wearing your boots.
So, what do you want me to do about it?
I want a damn refund.
Fine, fine. I'll take the boots back. Just don't tell anyone you bought them from here.
Jake's is a good place to meet contacts. It's got the right amount of booze and the right amount of schmooze.
Personally, I think daylight's overrated. I get by just fine. All this stuff is legit. Promise. Ugh, right. The boots. I hate to admit it, but she has a point. She's the third customer to return the pair, all for the same reason. The boots might really be cursed. I thought about it once, but then I thought better of it. Best not to tempt fate. And besides, they're not my size. And risk releasing whatever's inside them? I've seen enough horror vids to know how this goes. Like most of my supply from one of my UC contacts. But after the second customer returned the boots, I got curious and I did some digging. Turns out they were seized from a House of Arun ship. That alone is enough to convince me something's amiss. I don't doubt it. Either way, it's bad for business. Hey, you're a pilot, right? Maybe you can do me a favor. I've heard of a UC station at the far end of the galaxy called the Den. You go there and stash these boots in a crate, and I'll give you credits as a compensation. Believe it or not, I actually tried that. And do you know what happened? Some UC pilot picked up the cargo and somehow it found its way back to my store. No, I wanted the boots gone. But I also want to know exactly where they are. Finally, someone to give these blasted boots the boot, if you pardon the expression. Here, I'll have your credits for you when the job is done.
Então a gente viu ali uma leve discussão e a gente acaba iniciando aí, né, essa missão, a bota ali, parece ser uma bota amaldiçoada, né, mano, é bem interessante. E é aquilo, né, às vezes você vai vir nessa loja aqui, esse evento ele não vai estar acontecendo, tá? E no meu caso aqui é a segunda vez que eu venho nessa loja, certo? E agora ele aconteceu, beleza? Então se não aconteceu com vocês da primeira vez ali, passa um tempo, vai fazer uma missão, volta depois nela, que muito possivelmente uma hora ou outra, né, vai acontecer ele. Aí a gente teve que ir lá pro sistema roof, na alcova, certo? Onde a gente precisa colocar essa bota ali e continuar com a história também. Só que nessa parte a gente tem duas opções, beleza?
Hey, newbie. It's a nice set of boots you got there. They for sale? I'll give you, say, 500 credits for them. They'd look better on me anyway. Nothing. I just want yours. I don't know. Looks like they're perfect. Sturdy, polished, and just my size. But fine. If you don't want to sell, it's your loss.
É só essa parte que irá mudar, tá? No caso, você recusa vender ali a bota, volta no cara, recebe a recompensa e a XP, tá? E agora já vamos para outra opção, porque o final não vai mudar.
Hey, newbie. It's a nice set of boots you got there. They for sale? I'll give you, say, 500 credits for them. They'd look better on me anyway. Nothing. I just want yours. Great. I've been wanting a pair like that. Looks just my size, too. To be honest, I might have gone as high as $2 grand. I'm not saying I ripped you off, but I'm sure as hell thinking it.
E basicamente é só essa parte aqui que muda na missão, tá? Você simplesmente vai ou não vender pro cara, ou vender pra ele, né? No caso, você recebe uma grana extra e no final lá é a mesma bosta, você recebe a mesma quantidade de XP, os mesmos diálogos e também a mesma quantidade de dinheiro.
You ask me? Happy to make a deal. You need stuff, I need credits. It all works out. Yes, you did. You know how I know? The rain cloud over your head is all but gone. Here, for your hard work. With a lady luck back on my side, I expect the business to be less bust and more boom. And let us never speak of those accursed boots ever again.
E beleza, pessoal, depois de ter terminado ali também as missões aqui da UC e a sua história, né? No caso, a gente teve ali mais umas atividades, né, liberadas pra fazer. Uma delas ali é conversando com o Sargento Yumi novamente, que faz parte ali da guarda da UC aqui de Nova Atlântida, tá? Então vamos lá, né, fazer a interação ali com ele e iniciar mais uma missão aqui da cidade, né? Claro que a gente vai ir fazendo tudo, fazendo pente fino também.
Ah, if it isn't my favorite part-time security officer. Crime has slowed down since you started helping out, which is good for morale. The whole department is in the process of recovering, myself included. If I'm being honest, I still have nightmares of my team turning on one another. Things can be replaced and wounds can be healed, but building back that trust in each other is going to take time. Luckily, we've built a good culture here, and we hired some new recruits who were inspired by what you did. I've got faith we'll survive this. I do. Thanks to you, the spaceport is up and running again, which is good for commerce, but also for smugglers. We've received a tip that someone has been bringing in contraband into New Atlantis through the spaceport, and we need to investigate. Well, technology-wise, criminals have always been one step ahead. No different now than it was centuries ago. Smugglers often have a fancy shielding or scan jammers that allow them to evade the checks. But luckily, we can still use old-fashioned detective work to track these criminals down. Great. First, speak to one of the technicians over by Landing Pad B. Ask them if they've noticed any suspicious activity. Once you've gotten a lead, cross-reference their testimony with ship records over at Aegis. When you're done, report back to me with your findings. Remember that job you did for Agent Plato? I finally had a reason to call in that favor he owes us. I asked him to pull the names and cargo of every potential smuggling ship that docked in the last month. He said he'll have a slate ready for you to examine. There should be a few working on the landing pads. If they don't know anything, move on to another. Right now, we don't have any good leads. But if anyone's seen anything, it will give us something to go on. See you later.
Beleza, iniciamos a missão. Agora a gente vai ter que dar uma passadinha lá nos funcionários, né, que trabalham ali na área de pouso das naves. Então, bora lá.
I'm sorry. Heat leeches can turn into what?
Understood.
Gotta be honest?
Yes, what?
I'm a little surprised every time this ship makes it back in one piece.
Can I help you? It's about time. I've been telling my supervisor about that cargo ship for ages. I'm beginning to think he was ignoring me. It's the way the crew handled the cargo. They were being way too delicate. The manifest said they were carrying potatoes, spuds. I don't know what was in those crates, but it certainly wasn't that. That's the problem. I don't really look at the ship names when I work, just the ID number granted for clearance. I think it was UC576B. I do know it's a cargo class transport, if that helps. Goodbye.
Tranquilo, a gente já obteve ali umas pistas, né? E o possível nome de identificação dessa nave. A gente precisa ir lá, né, para aquela parte de pesquisa de defesa e saúde ali, né, da UC, conversar com o cara para receber ali um códice, tá, com nomes de algumas naves.
The fewer people there are thinking about Aegis on a daily basis, the easier my job is. The security of the United Colonies is every citizen's responsibility, but we try and do the bulk of the work. That I do, Captain. Sergeant Yumi said you'd be coming to pick it up. You've got good timing, too. I actually have a friend on a classified star station who sent me this list of potential smugglers the other day. Here you are. Given I owe you for the last job, I hope it serves some use. That's right. Classified station, top secret projects, etc., etc. Nothing you need to be concerned with at the moment, Captain. Yep, every ship on that list has a route that goes through New Atlantis. Not surprising, given we're the biggest port in town. And if they're smuggling stuff there, you can bet your ass they're smuggling stuff here. It's been a pleasure.
Beleza, né? Então, a gente já recebeu o códice ali. Vamos dar uma lida nele para tentar identificar ali qual que é a nave correta, tá? Para fazer aí a inspeção, certo? Bora dar uma lida aqui com calma. Ah, é a primeira lá, ó, porque o cara citou ali o C-57-6B. É a primeira nave aqui, ó. Então a gente já sabe o nome dela, precisamos responder isso. Agora é só voltar no Sargento Yumi e passar para ele a informação.
Found those smugglers yet? How's the investigation going? No major hiccups, I hope? Holding your breath won't work. Is that right? Do you know the name by any chance? Captain Enjai's ship. I think you might have hit the mark here. You had reports of their crew being less than professional on several occasions. Still, being a little rough around the edges isn't exactly a crime. Are you sure it's the right ship? Then the next step is searching their cargo for any smuggled contraband. And, as luck would have it, I believe the Anansi has already arrived at landing pad B. I'll make the call to have the ship detained until further notice. Your job is to board the ship, locate any illicit goods, and return them here. And if any of the crew puts up a fight, I trust you know what to do. Good luck.
Então nessa parte a gente vai precisar ir lá, né, pro porto e praticamente fazer uma inspeção na nave, né? Chegando nela, a gente vai ter duas opções aqui de finalizar essa missão. Uma delas ali é fazer um acordo com a mina que tá fazendo o contrabando. E a outra é você entregar ela basicamente, tá? Então primeiro eu vou mostrar uma das opções.
Looking for something? What? Well, it looks like you got me, officer. I guess this means my potato shipping days are numbered. But maybe you'd be willing to give a first-time offender a slap on the carpal bone. I don't suppose you're interested in a deal? It's simple. I give you a large sum of creds, you turn around and tell your sergeant the ship was clean. Good choice, Captain. Here's your credits. All you have to do now is tell your sergeant you found nothing.
How's the investigation going? No major hiccups, I hope? Holding your breath won't work. How's the investigation going? No major hiccups, I hope? Holding your breath won't work. Good work. Did you find anything? Nothing? Damn. Based on the evidence, I thought we caught them red-handed. I wonder if someone tipped them off. I'll have my team look into the others on the list, but it'll be hard to get clearance to do any real searches. Anyway, here's your payment. Just because we didn't catch anyone, it doesn't mean police work wasn't done.
E dessa forma a gente completa a missão ali e vamos para a segunda opção, que eu acho que é a melhor no caso dessa daqui.
Well, it looks like you got me, officer. I guess this means my potato shipping days are numbered. But maybe you'd be willing to give a first-time offender a slap on the carpal bone. I don't suppose you're interested in a deal? Fine. You've made your choice. But now, you'll have to pay for it.
Então, não fazendo o acordo ali, praticamente eles vão te atacar. E né, mano? É aquilo, né? A gente vai matar todo mundo ali. Volta. Eita, pô. Volta aí. Pera aí. Ei. Calma. Aí. Prontinho. Matou todo mundo, certo? Você vai aproveitar ali a nave inteira pra tu e praticamente, fi, pegar já as recompensas, né? Que no caso é munição, item de cura, tá ligado? E dinheiro que tá aqui também, ó, na própria nave. Esses itens aí tudo é de boa, porque né, é considerado roubo. Então, mano, assim, eu acho essa a melhor opção, porque pelo menos você pega algumas coisas extras além do dinheiro que a mina te paga lá também por fazer o acordo com ela, certo? E aí a gente volta no Sargento Yumi e encerra a missão.
How's the investigation going? No major hiccups, I hope? Holding your breath. How's the investigation going? No major hiccups, I hope? Holding your breath won't work. Good work. Did you find anything? Very well done, Captain. Time and time again you come through for us. Initially, I felt bad for having someone of your rank doing security, but frankly, you're worth the guilt. In any case, I'll have a team move the ship off the landing pad and do a full sweep. Make sure there's no other surprises on board. Oh, and before I forget, your payment. It's well deserved.
E é isso aí, terminamos mais uma missão. Se gostou, deixa o like, se inscreva no canal. Valeu, falou e até a próxima.